This is going to be about the Apollo 11 mission. I just read a book about explorers. They are people with a common, or I might say uncommon, set of characteristics. They're curious, fearless, and they see things through. They finish what they start, or they die trying. The first explorers wanted to see what was out there and to expand the land they inhabited. The next wave of explorers were commissioned and supplied by ruling national powers. They were out to discover, yes, new lands, but also riches, trade, and to establish their country's empire in the world. The English, French, Spanish, and Dutch, they were all a part of this. Following that, explorers set out in search of distinct goals: the Northwest Passage, the North and South Poles, the source of the Nile. These travels were all extremely hazardous and were successfully completed at the cost of many lives. The explorers then turned to mountaineering, climbing the tallest peaks on every continent, including, at the last, the Himalayas and Mount Everest. The loss of life continued, and the payoff was mostly limited to accomplishing the task, because it's there. On his way back down, Hillary muttered something like, "Well, we knocked off that bastard." After the mountains, there was the sea, and there was space, what was called the final frontier. Or maybe that's from Star Trek. They did a lot of exploring on television, too. Since this year is the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11's trip to the moon and that first moonwalk, there has been a slew of programs on TV looking back at that great historic event. And it was, no question, a great event. 1 million people gathered in southern Florida to see that launch. People around the world were following it. Every television station was broadcasting that news either live, preferably live, or in simulations which themselves cost millions to produce. When I compare that single exploration to other previous explorations, I can see many similarities, and largely because of the advanced technology, some differences. Those early explorers were so far away, out of touch, and in the most harrowing conditions. It was the same for the astronauts, far away to be sure, and even out of touch when they passed behind the moon and deep in the unforgiving clutches of outer space. Certainly their lives were on the line. Death was a real possibility, and their quarters were cramped, but they seemed, if taciturn like good test pilots, always cheerful, playful, and in constant contact with Houston, save for that brief, suspenseful passage around the moon. Almost pampered, coddled. And of the lead men, Armstrong, first on the lunar surface, emerged as the hero, in advance of Aldrin and Collins and the staff of 500 engineers monitoring every aspect of the flight from mission control. Well, Columbus and Magellan had their crews, and Hillary had his Sherpas and porters. Exploration needs to have a hero to pin a medal on. Shackleton, and even that disaster, Franklin. I've always seen the accomplishment, going to the moon and back, in two views. One is that it's mind-boggling to think that it was really done. On the prospect of it, it seems impossible, and so many things could go wrong. But they didn't, and they knocked off that bastard. The second look sees how puny and pathetic that giant leap was. You consider the universe, and you look at the flight to the moon, and you have to think, this is it? This is the best we can do? And Mars, equally finite. I know, baby steps. When I reflected on the giant leap, I thought, we better start attending to matters on the home base, that famous, fatalistic, fantastic blue marble in the middle of inky black infinity. I'm all for exploration. I think it's thrilling and definitely wired into our nature, but I think in the end, exploration is more of a compulsion, a diversion, an entertainment, rather than a path to salvation. We really should clean up our act at home.